Well, Bill 153, the act that's now been tabled in legislature, as I mentioned earlier, has been, something that the Métis citizens of Ontario have been wishing for 15 years, to have Métis-specific legislation. I think as many as 5 assemblies have passed motions to pass legislation. I guess the most recent one was at our assembly last year, where there was again a unanimous resolution by citizens to move forward with Ontario to advance Métis legislation. So the direction from from the citizens throughout the province through annual assemblies, our highest level of governance, has been there for years to do this. It was also in our 2008 framework agreement, something that we would work towards, the Ontario government to working towards. So. And it was also in the renewed framework agreement in 2004. I guess I'm losing track of dates here. So it's been something we've been wanting and pushing government on for time to get some progress on this. Certainly, I think what's brought it to a head to be able to go forward with it is, again, the Non-for-Profit Corporations Act has passed. There will be negative consequences if it's implemented to the Métis Nation of Ontario. We've pointed out to government how these negative things would impact the Métis Nation of Ontario. And so we pointed out those flaws. Of course, the government has its own process about drafting legislation. They draft the legislation. It's not like, and it's not something that the Métis Nation of Ontario drafts. It's, all governments do it the same way. And so once it was finished, the legislation was finished and tabled, we were able to review that, and we've looked at it, and we're very supportive of the legislation. The issues that would negatively impact us have been addressed. The other issues remaining we can certainly do some adjusting and some policy development to protect the other interests that haven't been completely dealt with through the Act. For instance, there's a concern that the youth, and certainly the Métis Nation of Ontario, has always been wanting a strong youth contingent and youth participation. They will be and are the next and future leaders. But the Non-Profit Corporations Act and other Ontario legislation does not allow anyone under the age of 18 to sit on boards or councils. And there's a legitimate and a good reason for that, because you don't want young people, certainly anybody younger than 18, to become legally responsible for the liabilities of the entity. So, a great example is in 2008, we had an election, we had youth elected to the council. Some of the first meetings that we were dealing with was the huge legacy issues from previous administration of $4.2 million debt. And if you're sitting there as a youth councillor just elected, I don't think it's right that all of a sudden you have that liability placed on you. Other councillor members, are facing having to deal with those potential liability issues. It would not be right to put a youth in that position, and that's what's being protected there. But the concern is once the individual turns 18, the Act as it currently exists says that still they can't accept the full rights and privileges of voting and the liability and legal requirements to it. But we've developed a workaround solution for that. We will pass a youth-specific policy, and if that youth person can resign from that position, and the council can re-elect them to that if they're so willing to continue to hold that office. They just accept the re-electance, and they would be re-elected to that position after they're 18, and then after they're 18 they would be able to accept that responsibility going forward. So any areas where there's issues like that, we certainly have the ability to put in policy and make bylaw adjustments to cover up those areas that need further work.